I'm not sure how many people even pay attention to whether or not they are nominated for a National Sports Media Association Sports Hall of Fame Sports Writer Award. But Christine Brennan is a finalist to get into the Hall of Fame, and she received my vote. And she joins us on the Adam Gold Show, columnist for USA Today at C. Brennan Sports on Twitter. I'm not trying to suck up, but I was surprised that you weren't already in. So we'll see if we can't right that wrong. How you doing?
Well, Adam, thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing that. You could do the Chicago thing: vote early, vote often, if you want. But,
we tried that a month ago, and it didn't work.
No, yeah, well, that is true. Yes, but I am honored to be in several halls of fame already, so I feel great about that. Northwestern Ohio, the Red Smith Award a few years ago. So I'm so fortunate, abundant of riches. That is a lovely a nomination, and it's a great organization. So thank you so much, and we'll see what happens. There's other wonderful people, so however it works out, it's all wonderful.
This has been a year. I think I was just kind of perusing your Twitter timeline. This has been a year where women's sports, I don't think it's just this year. I actually think it's been trending this way for the last several years. I always go back to the women's European football championship, soccer, where I think UEFA was stunned at the outpouring of attention and attendance for the women's Euros back a couple of summers ago. We saw, and women's sports, whether it's Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA and women's college basketball, or the women's sports in the Olympics. There's an explosion of interest in women's sports. Caitlyn Clark has taken that to a completely almost absurd level. I know you've got a book, you're working on a book about her and this experience. Mm-hmm. What have you discovered over this period of time about her, about women's sports and the interest?
Well, you're right. It is exploding. And I even go back to 99, the Women's World Cup soccer, right, where there were 90,000 people in the Rose Bowl on July 10th, 1999, to watch women's football, not men's football, right? The Rose Bowl is always seen as, January 1st, et cetera. So that mindset and that change, that's 25 years ago now. And I really think that moment, there was Billie Jean King, who's a good pal and a great role model. I did a book with her years ago, of course, beating Bobby Riggs in 1973. That was a seminal moment for those of us who were around, and girls, growing up, are like, wow, a woman beat a man at something. We never saw that, but we never saw a woman on the same stage with a man before, much less, even though some think it was just an exhibition. Obviously, to me, it was much more than that as a girl growing up in the suburbs of Toledo, Ohio. So now move ahead, 99, and who's born 3 years later, 2.5 years later in Iowa? Caitlyn Clark. And I think that age group, so Caitlyn was born in 2002. I have a niece who's a great athlete who was born in 2003. We all know someone, everyone listening to you has watched The Girl Next Door or The Girl in the Kitchen get ready for a sport, right? And come home with grass stains or a bruised elbow and something but a trophy and a victory, and moving on to high school and college, et cetera. I think that age group, at the turn of the century, born right around then, Adam, we're given Title IX on full blast, absolutely full blast, the best of us, coming out of 99, where we fell in love with the nation fell in love with what it created from Title IX, and women in baggy shorts and shirts and tall socks, not Olympians in sequins or bathing suits or leotards. You know what I mean? It was a whole different kind of athlete that we just were so thrilled about. And now you've got Caitlyn grown up, and what she's doing in terms of attendance and TV ratings we've never seen. I said this to my editors at USA Today well before I was working on a book, which just came about suddenly with Scribner in July. I said, I didn't think I would live to see this. A woman taking over a male-dominated sport, a sport that, to this day, people say basketball and they think men.
Yeah.
Right? I know
Yeah.
you're good on this. You say men's or women's every single time, right? Of course you do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, well, I'll be listening, right? But no, I'm teasing you. But there's so many guys, even like yesterday, somebody said it, basketball. Which one, guys? Which one? You know? And the just that inherent sexism that we see, because it's been around, men's basketball has been around forever. ESPN's finally putting MBB on the crawl after a certain USA Today columnist was writing about that about 20 years ago. You're talking to her now. And, but that was like, I was weird to be doing that, right? Like, why are you writing about that? It's the men's game. Well, Caitlyn Clark has just literally shattered that to smithereens with a lot of growing pains from the WNBA, as we know. And, of course, all that'll be in the book.
Right. Well, I mean, you were considered an activist, when you were pushing for things like that, or my least favorite word in the English language right now is woke, which, I mean, all we're talking about is being aware, and that is looked at as being a negative, and it should never be a negative to be aware of the world around you. Christine Brennan is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. What do you think this year? This was a difficult transition for her on the court from the college game to the pro game. She's really acknowledged that as she's, I think maybe more so after the season, ended. I don't know that she was upset or not about missing the Olympics, and she might have needed a break. But what was this year like for her in terms of the transition to the pro game?
Well, it was difficult for about 2 games. Everyone, and that's part of the book. The book is on her game. It'll come out in late June, early July from Scribner. Sorry for the plug, but I had to. Anyway,
no, it's fine.
I'm up to my eyeballs in it right now, and my deadline. We are rushing it. It's at deadline's end of January.
I'd think you're crazy if you didn't mention the book.
Yeah, no, there you go.
Come
I'll
on.
mention it again.
We had John Feinstein on for the second time in 3 weeks on Friday, coming up on Wednesdays. I didn't even realize he had another book.
Well, with John, there are a lot. Yeah, exactly. My old colleague at the Washington Post.
Yeah.
But no, on her game, Caitlyn Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. So there you go. I now probably match Feinstein on that one. She had 20 points in that first game that she had 10 turnovers. I'm not sugarcoating that. She had 20 points in her first game against the toughest defense in the league. I do think that the league, as you know, people were mad about a couple questions I asked. I'd ask them again. What are we saying? We can't ask women what we'd ask men.
Right.
I asked Tiger about steroids at the Masters, or inference of his doctor, and Tiger didn't squawk. There's a lot there. I did CNN the other night on that. As I said, I'll deal with all of that in the book. I think the WNBA's complete. Sadly, I say this, not happy at all. Lack of preparation for the national scrutiny that was coming, and the lack of preparation of its players. I'm going in depth in all of that for sure. But, she had 22 points, and I'm just looking now, and I think she had, 8 assists in her third game, which was 4 days after her first game. So there was a negativity, and of course we know Gino Auriemma, who I think is great, and we're friendly, just saying she's set up to fail, and it's going to be a disaster, and all of her delusional fan base. I did ask Gino, I said, do you think the NFL cares about the adjective of their fan base? So something was really going on there. And we're seeing it to this day with Sheila Johnson's comments the other day about the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year award for honor for Caitlyn Clark. So I think, yes, she is a perfectionist. She wants to win at everything. She certainly started playing much, much better. She wanted to be in the Olympics. Of course, I thought she absolutely should have been. I think it will be seen as one of the worst mistakes. Everyone I talk to now is shaking their head. And Dawn Staley, who was on the committee at the Olympics, said, well, we probably should have put her on the team. I mean, they couldn't even get their story straight in some ways. And I, again, respect all of them, and I'm working on trying to talk to all of them at USA Basketball for more on that. But, yeah, it's a very interesting story. Caitlyn Clark just worked her way through it all, and obviously is one of the best players in the league already. So those predictions and those dire warnings from people who didn't want her to succeed maybe or thought, I don't know what they thought, some of them, clearly proven wrong, and really proven wrong by, early June, which was just, 5, 6, 7, 8 games into her season.
I mean, she was amazing. She was she had to deal with, obviously, there was pushback from players. What happened with, I forget the Kennedy, I think her name was
Kennedy Carter.
Kennedy Carter. That was not a basketball foul, but she handled that with such professionalism on the part of Caitlyn. We all know it wasn't a basketball foul. That had nothing to do with basketball. It was all about a message, and there was jealousy. I said that at the time. I do think that there are certain players who were part of the movement. Not as big a part of the movement, but part of it. Angel Reese was part of this movement. And she was largely, by the general public, forgotten about, and I think that probably bothered her. She'll be fine. She'll get over it. But I think part of her attitude towards all of this was that she had been kind of overlooked in her role in this. But she's also, what is she, 21? So not everybody has grown up in this entire situation. So I sort of understand all of it. I do want to bring up something, because you talked about that we should be able to ask female athletes exactly what we would ask a male athlete. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was the issue with the Greg Doyle, who is a friend, right? Greg Doyle used to work here in the Triangle, and now he's at the Indianapolis Star. And it was a very cringy moment where he made the heart symbol that she makes, where he was trying to fast forward an emotional connection with an athlete that did not know him. He would never have done that to a male athlete.
Exactly.
Right? And I just felt like the mistake that Greg made, and I actually told him this offline, I said the mistake that Greg made was treating a female athlete like she was special because she was female, when they really just want to be treated as athletes.
Well, yes. Now, obviously, my situation with Dejanay Carrington asking about an issue in the news that you had to ask about, it would have been journalism malpractice not to. I know you're not comparing to what Greg did.
Oh, no. I was just saying that they just want to be treated like athletes.
Right. They're different, though. Greg Doyle, that was borderline sexual harassment.
Oh, yeah, it's awful.
Right. So he's lucky he didn't lose his job.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
If I had done that, reverse it. If I'm, me, and I'm talking to a 22-year-old male athlete that way, do that hard to me, I would expect CNN to say, thank you very much, goodbye.
Right.
I would expect ABC to say, thanks, goodbye. I would expect USA Today to say, and I would probably just need to walk off into the sunset. It's that bad. So I don't see it the same. She wanted to be seen as an athlete, but it's all about him and his unbelievable behavior that was cringy, but I think far worse. I think it was actually harassing behavior. And then it wasn't just that one, and I'll deal with this in the book, and if he wants to talk to me, great. If he doesn't, that's fine too. And I like Greg. I mean, I'm not out to get him. It's just when your behavior, again, I'll speak for myself. I would have expected to lose all of my jobs and contracts if I behaved that way. So it's a very different scenario. But he also said, right, it wasn't just the one with do that hard for me and we'll get along just fine. I mean, that's just an awful thing for an older man to say to a 22-year-old woman, first minutes in Indy, in the lobby, doing the press conference. The other thing was then a few minutes later, he looked at Christy Sides, and of course the head coach all this year of the team, and said, how does it feel to have the keys to that? Oh, horrible. As I said, he's lucky he wasn't fired.
Oh, there is no. I was shocked. When they just suspended him for like 2 weeks. And look, I think he's a brilliant writer, but there are a lot of brilliant writers that either could or should or deserve to lose their jobs. And he could he could write independently, and people can still find him. But man, that was certainly risky behavior.
Well, also, it's a great privilege. When I talk to you, when we talk anything, this is such a gift I've been given, and I double, triple, quadruple checked. I like Katie Ledecky columns from the Paris Olympics. And speaking of the Olympics, that, of course, is one of the huge reasons why we were talking about the year of women's sport.
Mm-hmm.
Because women, of course, dominate, win more gold medals than men, would be the second or third country in the medal.
They do that all the time.
Always, every Olympics.
Time.
Because our best female athletes go to and it's Title IX and it's everything. Yeah, but I've known Katie, covered Katie Ledecky since 2012, and I'm still on a train or a bus or in a car going back to my hotel at 3 a.m. after the swimming in Paris and writing my columns, and I'm reading it again online. This is a great gift, and you've got, it's so easy to lose, and I think Greg, I don't know what was in his mind. I guess he wanted to be cool.
He did,
but that's horrible to do that to Caitlyn Clark in her first minutes in Indianapolis. Just horrible. And as I said, it'll be on her game, as will all this other controversial stuff.
All right, final thing for you, Christine Brennan. I appreciate your time. Look, you've covered you were the first female reporter covered the Washington football team, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So Bill Belichick is now the head coach at North Carolina. I'm sure you thought, did this really happen? What was your first reaction when you heard about this?
Well, I knew you of course it was happening, and you and I were texting and about being on, and then of course, Bill Belichick. What a story! Bill and I are actually pen pals, and I expect you didn't expect that to come out of my mouth. Yeah, I wrote for the Washington Post. I wrote a story on his dad, who was a assistant coach at Navy, and a couple of weeks later, this is the mid '80s. I got a lovely handwritten note in the mail at the Washington Post from Bill Belichick thanking me for what he wrote about his dad. Okay.
Wow.
I'd interviewed, I think I'd called him for the piece, just to get his perspective on it. Then various things over the years, Bill would write to me, and I'd send him a thank you note for that, thanking him because I'm a note writer and also very old school on that. And so we were off and running. Bernie Kosar was mad at me. Well, he was mad and it got public for various reasons because athletes get mad at journalists. No surprise there.
Right.
And Bill wrote me a note saying, "Don't worry, Bernie's mad at me too," which was hilarious. I was not worried. And Bernie and I have gotten along fine, and Bill, all good now, of course. Everything's fine. That's a million years ago. And then I wrote a column about it, actually, at the Super Bowl 2017 Super Bowl. And as we ended our interview about our note writing, he goes, "You're going to get another one." And sure enough, I did. But I had sent one to him before. So I think I need to send him another note down to Chapel Hill, because I think this is great for him, and what a great thing for the campus and the students, and what fun. But yes, we don't know each other well, but we have that wonderful tie that I just love.
Well, now I have a new way to introduce Christine Brennan next time you're on the show. Bill Belichick's pen pal. That is fantastic. Well, when the book comes out, we'll do something before then, but we'll definitely talk again as the book gets ready to hit the newsstands. Newsstands? We don't even have newsstands anymore. On the streets of New York, we do.
We do. Yes. Couple around, but no, exactly. No, thank you. You're so kind. Again, thanks for the vote, and always love being on your show, Adam. Have a wonderful holiday season to you, and of course, to all your great listeners.
Thank you so much. Christine Brennan, USA Today at C. Brennan Sports on Twitter. When we